All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome to our channel. We are on a mission to help individuals around the world to create wealth. And, we have conversations on a Sunday that help us to unlock and remove blockades, obstructions, hindrances that are literally interfering with us being able to live the life that we desire to live rather than the one that we sometimes are given or sometimes end up accepting because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So we find a time to have this conversation to help us to remove some of the blockades and obstructions and hindrances that are interfering with us being able to release our gifts, our talents, our capacities, our strengths, and to be able to soar and shine and reveal more of our glorious nature. So today we have a topic, and that topic is what is greatness? What is greatness? I found that word to be quite a word that, even though everybody hears it, everybody probably uses it at one point or the other, refers to someone as being great, and you are grateful, he's great, she's great, and oftentimes use it. But what is it that is greatness? What is greatness? And understanding what it is, I believe, can bring us more clarity in helping us to release more of our innate greatness. Because I believe that greatness is innate. I believe it's natural. I believe it's a part of our being. But a lot of us misunderstand its origin and misunderstand how to access it. So I think a conversation about that will help us to examine the topic, examine the word, and also help us to orient ourselves in a way that will allow for us to release more of that. So let's start with a question, right? And Robert, Tony, if you guys could unmute and tell me, each of you, what is your perspective on greatness? What do you think greatness is? If you want to go ahead and ask, what do you believe greatness is? Or just say from your perspective. Let me start with you, Robert. What do you think greatness is?
Well, I think greatness is something that you have tried to accomplish, and you accomplish it. You accomplish the greatness that you was after, or something that you wanted to do. You succeeded, and I mean, you can also achieve greatness on the way towards full greatness.
Okay, I got you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that perspective. Tony, you want to chime in? Share what do you believe greatness is?
Well, sorry, it's a difficult question. And the reason why I say it's difficult because I think it's relative. I think it's relative that everyone will have different views of greatness. But I think from my point of view, I think greatness is going beyond your limit and going beyond everyone's expectations of you, yeah, or of the situation. I think it's actually it's an unknown quantity because it's always exceeded. So I think greatness is it's a funny word. We say someone's great because they've probably exceeded the expectations we expect of them, but I feel they can be greater. Yeah. So I don't know. That's me just thinking off the cuff. But I'm sure you're going to add some light to it.
All right, thank you very much for sharing that, Tony. And Jane, I know you're jumping into the question late, but the question is, what does the word greatness mean to you? You can just jump in right away. I'm going to put you on the spot. What does the word greatness mean to you?
Dr. Harry, I'm still at work waiting for my delivery.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. If you can't speak, I understand. All right. So let's just chop it up, right? Let's chop it up. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Robert. And I know Jane going to be listening in. But so here, let's look at the let's look at it, right? Looking at the word, and I'm grateful to hear Tony share that the word is a little interesting or a little difficult to kind of wrap our minds around. What is greatness? Because it's a word that's known by most of us, but not a lot of thought has been put into what is it really. And Robert, you mentioned about the idea of achieving something. And then when you have achieved something, that's when we consider that to be considered greatness, right? And, of course, perspectives are perspectives, and nobody is wrong or right per se. It's just a function of where we're looking at it from and how we choose to interpret it. And when we start to understand more deeply what it really is, I think changing our orientation relative to it will be a benefit. So in understanding that, what we're generally doing is looking at the accomplishment. We're looking at the deed. And what we're generally, Tony mentioned that whenever somebody exceeds or does something way better than what we thought they would have been capable of doing, that's what we consider to be greatness, because they did something beyond what was expected or beyond what we thought possible. If somebody broke the 4-minute mile, wow, that's a great runner. Somebody climbed, Mount Kilimanjaro, and a lot of people tried and didn't get to the top. They had to turn back because they couldn't breathe. And then somebody went and got to the top. We said that person is a great individual. So what we're often doing is to look at the deed that's being accomplished, and we call that the greatness. Well, really, that's the outcome of somebody realizing greatness. If we look at it, we've heard a lot of times individuals say that one is greater than this one. And I've asked the question, is anybody greater than another? And please answer, all right? Is anyone greater than another? Let's just answer that. And then that would probably help. Go ahead, Robert.
No.
Or why do you
Because
say that?
we all have the same greatness. We all have the same greatness in us. But some of us just haven't realized it. So we have the same level. We have the same level of greatness in everybody, and sometimes we just don't realize that.
I got you. I like that answer. Tony, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah. I don't think we all have the same greatness. I think we're all made with slightly different greatness. I think the reason why I say that is because we're not all the same size or same color. But I think we have greatness within us. I think what it is a lot of us, like Robert says, we haven't realized it, and we haven't used it. And I think I'd say we have greatness, but it's not the same greatness that we have within us. Yeah, but we do have greatness.
Okay, that's interesting. That you see it as some people have. You're saying it's different, not it's the same, but it's different.
See, they always say we have a purpose. Everybody has a purpose in life. Yeah, we've been put on this earth for a reason. Yeah, and it's not the same purpose. We don't have the same purpose.
Okay.
So
right.
Therefore, our greatness would have to be different for us to achieve the purpose that we have on this world. Yeah.
I got you. So I look at the word and look at the idea of our purpose in terms of, I see all of us as having the same purpose. And this is why I say that all of us are created in the image and likeness of our Creator. The Creator, regardless of how we may choose to define it, different names that we've tried to use, it is pretty easy to agree that at the end of the day, there's one Creator, not multiple creators. And that one Creator, everything is coming from that one Creator. By some degree, we all have the qualities of the one Creator in us, regardless of how we might try to define the one Creator. So from that standpoint, if we're agreeing on that standpoint, then it's easy to logically assume that we all have the qualities of that one Creator in us by default, if we're made from the fabric and the substance of the one Creator. then if that's the case, then it therefore means that we're here to reveal those qualities. So the purpose of our life is to reveal qualities. The way I look at those qualities like love, strength, peace, wisdom, genius, intelligence, transforming knowledge, the ideas. We're all here to reveal those. Now, where I believe we become different is in how we're going to reveal those qualities. For example, somebody may reveal it. I see you have a lot of beautiful fruits and different wonderful things in your background, Tony.
Yeah.
Some people may be here to add value in that regard. And they're using the strength of the creator, the love of the creator, the joy of the creator, the intelligence of the creator, the wisdom of the creator, to make that available to us in a unique way. Somebody may be, feeling the gift of some music and art and different things that they're going to reveal while being on the planet. And that individual is revealing those qualities of love, peace, joy, wisdom, intelligence through the music, through the art, through being a great, the outcome of doing some great work in the field of medicine or law or engineering or, whatever field. So we're here to reveal the same qualities, but we may use different avenues through which we reveal those qualities that make us seem different. But at the center and the core of each of us are the same qualities of the creator that show up going through different channels that we're doing on the planet based on where we may find ourselves from time to time, based on the culture that we grew up in, the people that surrounded us while we were growing up, and what we felt inspired and encouraged to go ahead and do, ended up helping to define how we showed up on this planet and how we went about doing what we're doing. That's how I look at that in a perspective to the idea of our purpose, the idea of greatness. Now, greatness is something that's inherent. It's not outside of us. And one of the mistakes that we have made, I believe, is to define greatness based on our deeds. We oftentimes define greatness based on accomplishment. So if you did something, for example, would say, Muhammad Ali, right? The boxer. We would oftentimes say, well, he was a great boxer. And, it is that he did do some great things in terms of his boxing. There's no question about that. He really did do great things in terms of the accomplishment. But his greatness is inside, not the accomplishment. What we tend to do is to define people as great or not great based on their accomplishment, as opposed to realizing that all of us really have greatness inherent. It's woven within the fabric of our being. And it sometimes suspends us tapping into that greatness because we think that, wow, look at what that one did. I would never be able to do that. And if we feel that way, that we'd never be able to do that particular task or that particular, maybe we're not called to do it. Maybe it's not something that we desire to do. But if we truly want to do something, I believe that the greatness is there for us to tap into and use to make that particular deed accomplished. So I see the deed as the deed, and the manifestation and the deed that we accomplish is just the degree to which we're aware of our greatness. So the more aware we are of our greatness, the bigger the deeds that we can do, and the world will say, wow, that guy is great. Wow, that lady is great. Wow, you overcame that. You went through that. How did you manage to do that? It's really just becoming in tune with the greatness that's inherent, as opposed to the idea of, this person is so great, I'll never be able to do that. Or that person is so great, I'll never be able to do that. And that is what I believe limits us and restricts us, because we see greatness as the deed and not as a part of our fabric, not an inherent part of our being. So therefore, we're not utilizing as much of our greatness as we should, because it's our nature, not a deed. Not, okay, when I've accomplished this, when I've accomplished that, then that's when I'm going to consider myself to be great. When I've accomplished this, when I've got to this milestone, then I'll say, okay, at that point I'm great, as opposed to realizing from the starting point that greatness is our nature. It is what we are. And then we're going into the world now to do something that others will then say, wow, man, you're truly a great individual, but not realizing that person is saying that from the standpoint of looking at what we did to say we're great, as opposed to whether you have done anything or not, right? Is to say you're great before you have done anything, before you have begun the act, before you have even started to build something. Just imagine if when we were coming up as children, right? Because we were cultured into whenever we did something great, wonderful, right? That's when our parents celebrated us. Okay. And, you know, when we didn't do anything wonderful, the parent didn't celebrate us. So the parent didn't tell us, oh, you're great just because we're standing there. The parent didn't tell us, oh, great we are just because, you know, we are alive, you know, and we're moving around. So if our parents knew that they should have affirmed that we are great from the get-go, then we would believe that we're great, and it would eliminate some of the beliefs that we have that we can't do certain things. Because what we have done is that we've boxed ourselves in, we've limited ourselves because we believe that, you know, it is the act that defines whether we're great or not great, not the greatness that's inherent inside of our being. So thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much, Robert, for those contributions. I know some of you guys jumped on here a little beyond the hour, say it that way, trying to be polite, but we're discussing the word greatness. And Tony chimed in, Robert chimed in. I'm going to jump. You know, I know Jane says she couldn't speak because of where she is, but if Prince, Elder, or Abigail, or Mark, you guys want to, any of you want to jump in and also say what you believe greatness is. We've been having a really great conversation around the topic, what you believe greatness is. Any one of you wants to unmute and just tell us what you believe greatness is. Go ahead. Anyone wants to tell us what do you believe greatness is? Let me pick on you, Abigail, pick on you, Mark, Prince Elder, Faratade, my friend from Nigeria. How are you? We haven't spoken in a long time. But Abigail or Mark, are you guys gonna unmute? You can just unmute one of you guys, one of you three. Go ahead, Abigail. And then Mark, Abigail and then Mark.
Dr. Ari, I just came in. I didn't even hear how they commented. Anyway, let me say what I know about, you said gratefulness?
Greatness, the word greatness. What does the word greatness mean to you?
Greatness is when somebody does a good thing, a good deed, let me say a good deed to you. That is, I can say that is greatness.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, thank you. Abigail says when the deed is, when somebody does a deed that we consider to be something worthwhile, that's greatness. Go ahead, Mark, you were gonna say something.
Excellent morning, everyone. So, in terms of just the word great, and my thinking, greatness is, for example, when someone is able to put themselves in a place or to accomplish something that is above average, it's above normal. You know, rather than walking a mile, you walk 100 miles. You know, rather than helping 5 people, you help 50 people. You know, rather than just cooking for you and your family, you cook for a couple of the neighbors. It's a different level above what we would what we would term as being normal, or what would be average in whatever we do. That's just my little piece.
All right, thank you for that. So when I started off talking about this, the common belief is that it's the deed that makes us great or not great. So I want to ask us a question, and I need some answers, right? Is there, because there are obviously deeds that are great and deeds that are not great, okay? So there are deeds that are great and deeds that are not great. So there's the deed, which is the accomplishment, and then there's the individual that does the deed, okay? So there's the deed or the accomplishment, and there's the individual that does the deed. Is there any individual, right? Because there can be great deeds and deeds that are not great, but there can there be an individual that is not great? Let's talk about the individual, right? A baby, adult, an older person. Please unmute and tell me, can there be an individual that's not great? Come on. All right. And you jump on it. Don't be shy. Don't hold back. Go ahead, Mark.
I wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't
I
think
wouldn't
so?
think so. No, it's just the ability. I mean to say is the ability for us to show it so that others could see. But I guess one could be great and, you know, others are wrong, not able to actually identify such.
All right. Okay. Anyone else wants to jump in there? That's Mark's perspective on that. Go ahead, Abigail.
I can say there are some people who are not grateful. You put all your effort doing something.
I don't mean grateful. What I mean is that would you say there are people who are great? Like, for example, you know, helping one person versus helping 50 people, right? You would say if you help 50 people, it's a great deed. If you help one person, it's not such a great deed. So are there people individuals that are great individuals and individuals that are not great individuals?
Oh, no.
Why do you say that? Why do you say no?
I can say no. If you can help one person, that doesn't mean that you have not done good deed, because that one person can turn to be thousands of people. For example, you find somebody who doesn't have even where to put his head, or he doesn't have food or things like that, and you have helped that individual, like build a house for that person and put food on their table. You did one deed. It is still a good deed. That's what I can say. Those who do 50 is because they had enough to do the 50. And you maybe what you had is just to reach one person. So we all did a good thing. You did where you could, and this one did where she could. That's why I'm saying there is no it's not like if you have done one, you have not done anything. You have done something.
Okay, but would you say the individual that has done 50 is greater than the individual that did one?
No, I didn't say that. I said they are equal.
No, I'm asking if what would you say about the individuals, the two different individuals? Would you say a boxer that won the world championship is greater, right?
If somebody said the one who did 50, he did according to his whatever, and the one who did one is according to what he could do. So you can't say that this who did one did nothing, but all of them have done great things.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for that, Abigail, for that perspective. Tony looks like he wants to jump in. Are you wanting to jump in?
Yeah, I might have to go soon. So yeah, I said, let me just jump in. Well, we're all God's people, aren't we? Yeah. So I don't think we can say nobody, somebody's not great. I think we're all created with greatness. Whether we use it, that's a different thing. So I think personally that in answer to your question, you can't, everybody has greatness within them. So everybody is great. That's my side on that side.
All right, thank you. So I created a acronym from the word greatness in my book that I published a couple of years ago. And the word greatness, right? The G, if somebody wants to type it in the chat, if anybody here is a note taker, the word G, right, stands for God, right? G in the word greatness stands for God. So if somebody could type it in the chat for me, right? Type the word greatness and type the letter G. Mark is usually a good note taker. All right. If you want to type the first letter G, then the second letter is revealing. So God revealing, and then the E stands for eternal. So GRE, God revealing, eternal. The A stands for attributes. The T stands for through, right? So God revealing eternal attributes, the attributes that are eternally inside of the Creator, attributes, right? Those qualities, those gifts, those talents through THROUGH, noble. N stands for noble. Noble. You and I were noble beings, right? Entrepreneurial. All of us have this entrepreneurial itch and urge to reveal our gifts and our talents and become entrepreneurs in sharing value and giving value to people all over the world in one way, shape, or form. Souls, that first S is souls. Through noble entrepreneurial souls, serendipitously, through kindness, we're beings that are kind-hearted at the core and center of what we are. Yes, may look at some people differently who are not exhibiting that. But if we look at the word greatness as the Creator in us, revealing our gifts, our talents, our capacities, then what each individual needs to then do is to become more aware of what is already in us. Because that's where the error is. We oftentimes look at what people are doing as the great deed, as opposed to realizing that they're just aware of a capacity of greatness within themselves that others have not yet cultivated an awareness of. Because sometimes we look at, oh, this one is greater than that one and this one, and we're looking at the comparison on a surface level, not realizing that it's just a function, as Abigail was saying, that, well, this person did something good at that level. It doesn't mean because somebody did a lot more means that that person is greater than the other. It's just a function of what the individual is capable of doing at that stage. So as we become more aware that we are greatness, that greatness is inherent. Now, the question I have to ask of us then, right, is how do you tap into that greatness? How do how does someone become aware of this so that we can use it? Because it's one thing to now agree that, yes, okay, we all have greatness within us. But tell me now, how do I get to this greatness? How do I get this greatness to use this greatness? All right, if I have it, how do I then use it? How do I make it available to me? How do I use it in something that I'm doing? Somebody unmute and tell me how do I get to it? Know that we're coming into alignment, that it's not something of a deed, it's not the accomplishment, it's, those things are just ways to identify somebody knowing about a level of greatness within them. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, we all have greatness in us, but sometimes, but we don't all have the same type of greatness, and it can all be greatness according to your abilities to do what you can do, and other people can do other things that they can do. So we all have greatness in us, and we just have to bring it out in the way that because we all have gifts and we all have talents, but we don't have the same talents. It's different for all of us, but all of us can be great in the talents and the gifts that God has given us. We can all bring that out, to be what it is. And so that's pretty much how I feel about that. So when we look at somebody else, we feel like, okay, because I can't do that, I'm not great, but anything that you can do to the best that you can do it is greatness.
Okay, so thank you for that comment. What I was driving at is how to access that, right? You know, how to access that greatness that's in us, right? So that we can be great in music, or be great in art, or be great in cooking, you know, or be great in caring for people. What, you know, what are, because those are the talents that we may be gifted with by our creator. But how do we access that greatness inside of that particular area that we are going to be focusing on? Robert, I'm sorry, Tony, you were going to say something a while ago.
Yeah, I think accessing it. You know, we only access something that we want or we desire. I mean, at the end of the day, like Robert said, we all have greatness within us. I mean, some of us, if we were young, we probably could run 100 meters faster than anyone in the world. We'd probably break the world record, but we didn't feel the need to do that. So I think accessing it is for you to say, right, this is the goal, this is my goal, and I want to, and I now need to now. That goal you've never achieved it before. So what's going to happen is you're going to now access places within yourself, access greatness within yourself to be able to achieve the goal. I think it's for me, it's not as simple as saying how do we access it. I think we only access it based on what we want to do, or what we set the tasks or the goals we set ourselves to achieve. And also it's a mindset thing too. So we have to obviously change our mindsets so that we can actually, because if you think about it carefully, you know, you have a lot of people with a lot of greatness, but you find that a lot of that thing is we you know, they always say that a lot of the worst thing about it is leaving this world without actually using most of that greatness with us. So for me, I think how we access it is we have goals. We work, people like yourself, Doctor. You have calls like this that make us think, and by making us think, we're now accessing deeper in and now achieving those things. So there's so many ways. I don't know what you're going to, but I'm just thinking myself like this off the hook. Yeah, so that's me anyway.
That's good. Yeah, well, I'm grateful to hear you say it's pushing us to think, you know, to dig a little deeper, to, you know, because when we are unaware of something, we can't use it. And a lot of what we need is there, but we're unaware of it. So this is at the beginning, you heard me share that what we seek to do through these conversations, eliminate obstructions and blockades that are interfering with us being able to use our gifts and our talents and our capacities. And you know, I've championed leading this conversation, and I'm going to remain consistent, and because I know how important it is. So thank you for showing up. I hope this won't be your last time showing up on our channel to have this conversation. But we're going to be here every Sunday through, you know, years to continue to help one another to remove these obscurations in our mind that are interfering with us being able to realize the inherent greatness. All right, anyone else wants to talk about Prince? Your hand is up. You want to unmute Prince? Prince Faratade over there in Nigeria. Hey, my friend, do you want to unmute? Your hand is up.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Keep go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Prince.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very sorry. I came in a bit late. That was a problem of network connection. From the point I heard your statement and other contributions, how do you assess greatness? To me, I believe that one can access greatness through self-development, self-discipline, and as a result of that, one will be able to access the ladder to greatness. And by the time one gets to the pinnacle of the ladder of greatness, then one has already accessed that greatness. And again, greatness is a generic word, which is universally interpretable to different phenomena. But the access to greatness depends on self-development, self-discipline, the goals, self-goals, objectives, and aspirations one has set down to access the greatness. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for that, Prince. Now, just to dive into a bit of what you said, you spoke about it being a ladder going up, right, to a pinnacle. And I think that is one of the errors that we inherited, because to believe that we have to climb up to somewhere to be at the pinnacle of greatness, it's pointing to an accomplishment. So we have to begin with not being great per se, and then working through personal development, through discipline, through self-development, to get to a certain accomplishment in whatever that may be. And then we will feel that we have done something great, or feel that we have manifested our greatness. If we have to go through a step to do something that the world or somebody or even ourselves would then consider greatness, right? So here's the deal, right? Thank you, Tony, for showing up. He had another meeting that he has to run to, but so here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, right? If we are going to wait until we accomplish something to realize greatness, what we're doing is that we're doing it in reverse. Because what if we started out, I'm going to come back to you, Prince. What if we started out with being at the pinnacle, okay? And we know that we're at the pinnacle of greatness from the beginning. You know, when we're coming up, and our parents told us from the very beginning that you're great, you're magnificent, you're wonderful, you're amazing, you're awesome, you're beautiful, and you believe that about yourself from the beginning, then what you're doing is you're allowing your greatness to flow down a mountainside into what you're doing, whatever that may be. Whether you're an artist, whether you're a chef, whether you're a speaker, whether you're what that may be. Because what ends up happening is that we suspend the feeling of greatness in us, and feeling our inherent greatness that is innate, that's natural. You know, Robert said our greatness is there, but we have to become aware of it. So what's happened to us is to associate our true greatness with an accomplishment. And it's only when we have actually gone through a process of revealing that greatness, that's when we feel great. Whereas if we began with anything that I'm doing, we walk with a sense of confidence and a pep in our step, and we walk and talk in a way that we know we're already great. You know that Muhammad Ali posture, I'm the greatest, right? He was saying that from the very early stages of him being a boxer, before he even hit over anybody. I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. And he said that over and over and over again throughout all of his career. So he began feeling his greatness. He didn't feel great at the end of his career that he had, become one of the greatest boxers of all time. He was saying, I'm greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. And he was saying that from the very early, I watch his videos from when he was a young boxer. he was saying, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. And he kept saying that. So what we did is a reverse in orientation to where we feel that greatness, not because of the deed that we're going to work on. Is, you know, what if when you began a deed, you know, you know already that you're going to actually achieve, you know, some of us are in a business known as extreme. What if you're at the beginning, when you began, you know you're going to be an icon? You have no doubt in your mind. You just know it's a function of the number of people that you're going to have to talk to, the size of the organization that you're going to have to build, you know, how many presentations you're going to have to do, and the various places around the world in which you may need to travel to impact enough people to achieve that physical manifestation. But you know from the beginning that it's done. That is, it's a done deal, because you're already great from inside, and it's just a function of applying yourself in that area that's going to allow for you to accomplish this, as opposed to, you know, I have to keep working at it, and then when I finally get there, that's when now I'm going to be defined and declared, and the people will know that I'm great, as opposed to you're talking and walking like you're great from the beginning. Right? From the very moment you step into the room, they just know somebody great showed up in the room, and you haven't done anything yet. Just because of the ear, your attitude, the smile on your face. You know what? Have you ever been in a room and somebody just steps into the room and you just know that person is confident? You know that person believes in themselves. Everybody all of a sudden, you don't know who the person is. People don't even know the person. But just the way they walk and talk and carry themselves, you just know that something about that person is wonderful. Has anybody ever had that experience? Unmute and tell me yes or no. You've been in a room, you've seen somebody come in, and people just, wow, you know, go ahead, Abigail.
Yes.
Right. Anyone else wants to say yes or no to that? Anyone else wants to say yes or no to that? Because I've seen that happen many times. And what we have to do is to realize that that person is just aware of the greatness in them. So we have to walk and talk. Sometimes people feel good because of the size of their bank account, you know, because they've accomplished this, just bought a new car, a new house, and they've accomplished that goal. And they feel good because they've accomplished that goal, but not because they are inherently great. Like a Muhammad Ali, he was saying, I'm the greatest from the very beginning of his career. Not after he had gotten 21 times knocking people out without, you know, he was speaking that I'm the greatest from his early years. Just go back and watch his videos. You'll see that from he was a teenage boxer. He was saying that I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. So we have to understand that greatness is inherent, but we have to believe it. We have to walk that way, talk that way, act that way. Because greatness is inherent. It's God revealing eternal attributes for noble entrepreneurial soul serendipitously. That's how I see the word, greatness. So as we recognize that it's inherent, truly, not because we believe it, and I ask the word, how do we access it? And I'm going to come back to that because we're getting close to wrapping this up. We have to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. But ladies and gentlemen, how do you access it? A couple of others try to put some context to that. But anybody else, how do you access feeling great? How do you access feeling that confidence, that Muhammad Ali confidence? How do you access it? Go ahead, somebody. Tell me. Anybody, you want to share? How do you access it? How do you start to feel greatness? Feel it from inside that I'm great. Anything I'm going to do, whatever it is that I feel gifted and called to do, and this is my area that I'm going to focus on. How do you feel that greatness? I'm waiting for somebody to answer me. Access. Anybody wants to give it a try. Give it a try. Right? Prince Parata, give it a try. That's great. One way to talk about it is to accomplishment. But I want to talk about it from having greatness from the beginning, before we even do anything. Right? You know, your child comes out of the womb. You start to tell them they're great, they're great, they're great, they're great, they're great, they're great from the very first day they put a foot on the planet, not because they have done anything yet, but just understanding that they're here to do great and wonderful things from the get-go. That will help their orientation to be different rather than believing it's until they have accomplished something. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I would like to say something about how Jesus looked at greatness. Okay, how he looked at greatness, and as we've been talking all this morning, it just seemed like we're all looking at it in a different way. That is not, what's real greatness. We're looking at it in the wrong way. And I was reminded of Jesus. He heard his disciples mumbling and grumbling about who was going to be the greatest when Jesus left, because Jesus has talked about, he was going back to heaven and all that. So his disciples were over there mumbling, and Jesus heard them, and what they was talking about was like who's going to be the greatest when Jesus leaves. And Jesus heard that, and then he said, "Which is greatest among you, he that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth?" And he answered his own question. He answered it. He said, "Isn't it he that sitteth at meat?" Isn't that how people see what greatness is? By somebody sitting at meat, and you're serving them, and you're waiting on them, and all of that. And that's how the disciples was looking at greatness, of somebody sitting you down. He said, "Who's greatest among you? He that sitteth at meat, or he that serveth?" He said, "Now, isn't it he that sitteth at meat?" He said, "Yeah, but I'm among you as he that serveth." So it was a person that would be able to serve in God, in Jesus's eyesight. That was the greatness. That was the greatest person, a person that serves rather than somebody that sits down and wait on you to serve them. It just kind of goes along with the deal today, with our
All
studies
right,
today.
thank you for that perspective, Robert. Appreciate you chiming in. And so here's the thing about accessing it. All right, accessing it. We have to access something. You have to know where it is. That's the first thing, right? If you're going to find something, you have to know where it is. And the question then is, where is it? Where is greatness? Where does it reside? Where, if we're going to start a search for it, where do we need to look to find it? And most of us have agreed that it's actually natural. It's a part of us. It's just that people are unaware. So it's a function of awareness. It's to become aware of our greatness, because here's the deal. If you have $1 billion under the floor of your house, underneath the floor of your house, and you're unaware of it, you never know it's there. Can you use it? Unmute and tell me, somebody. If you have $1 billion under the floor of your house, can you use it? You could unmute and tell me, are you able to use it?
No.
You can.
No, you cannot. And the reason is because we're unaware of it. So we have greatness in us as a natural state. And I think most of us can agree that greatness has to be in us first if we're going to do anything great. If you're going to do anything great, if you're going to be the greatest, the one who serves is the one who serves the most. Okay, it's considered to be the greatest. So the one who serves the most, one who asks not what your nation can do for you, asks what you can do for your nation. Those people who have the orientation of how they can serve is the servant of many that becomes great. So it's a function of how many people you're going to serve and how much of a benefit you are to those around you that will ultimately consider that to be greatness. But how do you tap into that to be able to serve many? How do you tap into that to be able to do something that would be of great value and great benefit to the world? How do you tap into an idea that can bring value to people? Like, would we say Bill Gates did something great? Okay, by bringing us the computer. Would you say, Mr. Bell did something great by us being able to have a phone to be able to speak to one another without having to use letters, right? So a lot of these great deeds that have been accomplished happened because people became aware of the ideas, became aware of the greatness within. So what do we need to do to become aware? Because it's a function of awareness. Are we in agreement about that? Is it that we need to become aware of the greatness? Because we have it, but some of us are aware of it in degrees. Oh, okay, are we in agreement with that? That is a function of being aware of greatness in degrees. Some people are aware of a lot of their greatness, and some people are aware of a small amount of their greatness. And then the things that we do in the world is a function of our awareness of the greatness that's inherent in us. Okay? Are we in agreement about that? Yes or no? You don't agree with me? It's okay. Okay, I hear Dupe is about to say it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a function of being aware, right? So the question then becomes, how can you become aware of it so that you could use it? Because that's the whole goal that I'm seeking for us to help us with, is for us to become more aware of what we already possess so that we can use it and be more effective in any area, whatever that may be. It may be, you wanna be, great in your relationship with your loved ones. That may be the area that you're challenged with, or it may be in a business or a job or, your community, whatever that is. All of us have the capacity to wake up that greatness inside of us, to release that greatness. Collins, your hand is up. Is it a mistake? Did your hand go up by mistake? Okay. All right. All right. So here's the deal. All right.
Hello, Dr. Harry. Dr. Harry.
Yeah, go ahead, Collins.
Yeah. In order to use what is actually which you did not say before, you did not know before. I think unless you are directed by the Holy Spirit, that's the only way you can find out that there is something beneath your house. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Collins. So here's the thing about greatness. Now, if you are great and you're not aware of it, it's a function of not identifying ourselves with an aspect of ourselves that's there. So it really comes down to an identity challenge, because what we have done is that we have limited ourselves in our identity. A lot of us came up believing that we're only human beings. A lot of us still say that. A lot of us still believe that I'm only a human being. I'm only human. That's why this, that, the other, because I'm only human. So most of us are not aware that I am greatness, that your DNA is greatness, your being is greatness, your spirit is greatness, your soul is greatness. So we have to do some practices to help us to eliminate a belief that we came into the world and inherited, because we inherited the belief that we are only human beings. A lot of us say that without even realizing we said it, because we have it deep in our subconscious that I'm only a human being, which is a lie. We're not only a human being. We are a spirit soul with a human being as a body that we use on the planet. But our identity has been restricted to believe that we are only human beings, when we're not only human beings. We're spiritual beings that are having a human experience. So what we then have to do, there are a couple of different things. This conversation that we're having, a high-minded conversation, is to help us, because the word greatness, at the surface, it seems like, oh, what is greatness? Of course, but when you start to go deeper into it, you realize that, but wait, I didn't even understand the word. Robert said, obviously there's a lot of different perspectives about a word that everybody knows, but yet at the same time, didn't recognize how much we were adrift with understanding its value and the depth of it and where we really need to be in terms of our orientation. And it is because of that belief that we're only human beings. And we inherited it, it's subconscious. So we have to have conversations like this to flesh that out. That's one. Study around the idea of our spiritual study, Prince Fartad spoke about some development, reading books and the discipline to, work out those areas. But then affirmations, affirmative prayer, saying things like, I am great, I am wonderful, I am beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm awesome. We have to remind ourselves about this, because in believing that we're only humans, a lot of us wouldn't say as a human being, I'm magnificent, because human beings, what we call human beings as having what we call flaws, or having human things that we wouldn't prefer not to have to experience, but it's a part of the human experience. So being able to wake up to, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I'm powerful, I'm magnificent. And when we start to affirm these things about ourselves, we are reminding ourselves about the truth of our being, and then starting to disintegrate and eliminate the limitations that we inherited by saying things like, I'm only human. The other way to speed that up is our silent meditation, because that's where you start to observe the thoughts and the content of your mind and start to disconnect oneself from thinking only, to starting to observe thoughts flowing through our mind. And in that way, you start to release yourself from self-limiting beliefs. When you hear something that you know is not true, you don't have to accept it. You can let it go. So access comes down to the 7 practices that you heard me talk about. You know, when it comes to selfless service, comes to, you know, fellowship with the right people, life visioning, you know, high-minded conversation, spiritual study, affirmative prayer, and silent meditation. So as we dive into those practices more and more, we're going to become aware of the true nature of our being. We're going to become aware of the greatness. God, revealing, G, God, R, revealing, E, eternal, A, attributes, through, T, through, N, noble, E, entrepreneurial, S, souls, S, serendipitously. So if we look at it from that perspective, we don't begin at the bottom of the ladder, as you know, some of us would believe, and then you climb the ladder to become great. No, begin at the top. You're greatness already. And what you're doing is that you're releasing your greatness into anything that you're doing. So you begin that I am great, right? Yeah. And that's why I end up, and I encourage us to end our conversations with, I bless you and your life is magnificent. So you're beginning with greatness. You're not achieving greatness in what you're doing. You're already great. You're already magnificent. You're already amazing. You're already wonderful. You're created in the image and likeness of greatness. So therefore, anything that you're going to apply yourself to is going to manifest greatness in the whatever time frame that is going to be. But it's a manifestation of a deed because your greatness is already in you. And it's just you infusing into your acts or whatever it is that you're doing, greatness that we are. So as we believe and remember that we are great and we're wonderful and amazing, then we're acting from that place. We're not acting from a place of feeling deficient or lacking or something missing, or I have to do some things first before I am something. You know, we believe and know that we are wonderful from the very, 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 very beginning before we even start any act that we're doing. And that gives you that air of confidence to step into whatever it is that you're doing boldly and confidently, and walking with your shoulders straight and back straight and your shoulders, you know, pull back, and you're feeling that greatness from inside thing that you're doing. And that's my perspective on it. I know I've said a lot, but right, you know, so you know, guys, I'm telling you, man, I'm really fired up about that. So from that standpoint, you know, we're gonna, if any comments before we close, we bless each other and then we bounce off for the call. Any comments from anybody before we bless each other with I bless you and your life is magnificent, and we close today? Any comments? Go ahead, Abigail, you're unmuted. You're unmuted, Abigail. Okay, you didn't want to, okay, I thought you wanted to say something. All right, any comments about that? Greatness, right? Going into our practices, diving inside, becoming aware of what you already have because you have it. You don't have to do something, you already have the greatness. It's in you, right? It's the practices now that we need to do.
Yes, yes, I am beautiful. I am healthy. I am happiness. I'm joy, peace. All that is me. Prosperity abundantly. Godness. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Harry. Thank you so much for bringing this to us. We could have not really know that this one, to me, I'm saying to myself, I'm not saying to you, but to me, it has really helped me on this journey in this world to know how to approach things, how to, some things changing. It is a journey. So I'm on the way, sweeping the road, you know, to remove those cobwebs which are have been crowded my life. And so now it is so easy to say something. It's so easy to forgive somebody. It's so easy. I found out that when you hold grudges on somebody, you are not doing it to them, you are doing it to yourself. Wow, that's an eye-opening, like, what? You know, and as I keep on listening, I hope these things, you are not coming here listening to things. When you listen to them, you go, you do the same things you used to do. I hope every time we come in here, we are going with something. It is making us to know that those whom we have wronged, we can go and tell them we are sorry. When you say you are sorry, you are helping yourself. You are not holding it. You are not telling them. You are telling it to yourself. I am sorry. I've forgiven you. I've forgiven you. Dr. Ali, you told me to repeat it until it comes forgiving. So let me not go way back. Those are good things I keep on remembering, and I thank you for this lesson. They are really, really changing our lives. I praise you, and your life is magnificent.
Thank you for your kind words, Abigail. I'm grateful to see the shifts happening, and you know, it's really beautiful to see and hear that, because it's wonderful when you start to feel joy and feel peace from inside, and it's not connected to what's going on in your world. It's a beautiful place, and as you vibrate higher and higher, you're going to be able to do greater and greater deeds, because it's a vibration, it's a frequency. You know, when you can overcome stuff faster than others, that's what people call great. It's just that you're become aware of a higher frequency of living than another. And that's it, right? You know, and all of us have the capacity to become aware of these frequencies because they're built into us. So thank you for that. Anyone else? And greatness. That's a topic that I wanted to dive into. We haven't even really dived into it that deep yet, but we have started the conversation about greatness and starting to flesh it out so that we could start to like realize that, man, I'm truly great. I'm truly amazing. I'm truly wonderful. All right, let's unmute ourselves and find 5 names, right? 5 names to say, I bless you and your life is magnificent. Say it out of your mouth, right? Because when you say that from your own mouth, you're saying that about yourself. All right. So I bless you, Robert, and your life is magnificent. I bless you, Jane, and your life is magnificent. Let's do it all at the same time. Let's make it noisy and rowdy and fun. I bless you, Jane, and your life is magnificent. I bless you, Abigail, your life is magnificent. I bless you, Mark, and your life is magnificent. I bless you, Collins, and your life is magnificent. I bless you, Dupe, Prince Paratade. I bless you all, and your lives are magnificent.
Thank you. We bless you too. And your life is not the same.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Robert, you're not blessing anybody today. What happened? Robert must have drifted away from his microphone.
I want to apologize for coming late.
Us, Prince, you are magnificent.